Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only Cardinal podcast that, like Oli Marmol, hasn't been fired yet. My name is Nate Heininger, and I am joined by my co-host, Ben Samorka.
Hey, Nate.
If you have an idea for the opening bit, text or leave us a voicemail at 848-48-BIRDS. Good morning, Hambone. How are you?
Oh, still waking up, but feeling really good. Feeling strong.
Yeah. Our last episode was Tab After Dark, and due to some recording schedule conflicts, we're doing quite the opposite. I was thinking, what's the opposite of After Dark?
Before sun. We're not
before
light,
light,
but it's not as bright as I would like it to be.
Yeah,
you're really jacking up my circadian rhythm, dude.
You did this. Well, we both kind of did this.
Yeah,
we both had our normal recording time issues, but After Dark actually
may surprise some people to learn that we actually have full-time jobs. We this is not our primary income source.
We need patreon.com/talking about birds so we can commit full time to this nonsense. But yeah, so we're recording bright and early. Although I think I heard Ben crack a beer before we started this episode, so he's in peak form, which is which is healthy and good.
You know what, Nate? I did have a Miller Lite last night.
Oh, wheels up, baby!
We had our retro for our race team. You know, the Lemons racing team I met. We went to the F1 arcade. So I was driving a F1 sim rig and sucking down a Miller Lite, and it was, wheels were not up, but I was having a great time. Wheels were down. Yeah. Wheels were down into the pavement, really.
Yeah, I was gonna say most of your hobbies are actually wheels down, and you're so into racing now that when you're not racing, you're like going to racing related arcades.
It was our racing team's retro for the race. So we had a couple of drinks, we ate some food, we drove some race cars, and then we talked about the race that was and how we could do better next time.
Okay, yeah, I'd been meaning to ask you. Last week we got all sidetracked with my whole story, but you had a race recently, and this is the aforementioned race that you'll be retroing. Can you give the listeners?
It's been retroed. You are wake up, dude. You were behind. It happened last night. We are retroed.
Retro to me.
Oh, yeah. To be honest, nothing too exciting about it. Our theme was ska this year, which was a lot of fun.
You fit in real well as a real rude boy.
Yep.
Yep.
You're slow this morning, aren't you? The car did break for about 5 hours, but it was an electrical problem. There was no horrible engine exploding, oil spraying all over the track and me situation. It was all pretty calm. Yeah. We had nice weather. Really nothing much to report other than, the car broke down for about 5 hours. What was something that I was very excited about was the car broke down for about 5 hours. When we got the car back on the track, we were in it was 55th or 60th place. And when we finished the race, we finished in 33rd place, which I thought was...
So you made up some time.
We made up quite a bit of time. And, we not the best showing we've ever had. But I didn't die.
Yeah.
And I had a good time.
Yeah, I guess I'm glad.
Thanks.
The venom was going down in a ball of burning oil flames,
really hoping that's a one-time type of situation. Yeah, it was not great.
If not, what the hell are you guys doing? If that's a near frequent occurrence, then I think you need a new race team.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever updated you or the pod on this, but so, eventually we got that car back home and we took the engine out and everything like that.
Sure.
And we found probably a baseball-sized hole in the side of the engine block, which is, 1/4-inch thick steel that had blown out from where all that chaos ended up happening. Which, again, the more I learn about what happened, the more I'm like, thank whoever that I did not get either hit by that shrapnel, caught on fire, hit by another car.
Yeah. Yeah. Almost worst case scenario. And thank you for making it baseball related by making the measurement of the hole.
I wanted to make
size.
sure that you could picture it because I know when you're thinking about holes and balls and stuff like that, it can
frequent
get really complicated for you.
So helpful. I do appreciate that. So wheels down. So you had a minor electrical issue, which is fine. So, I mean, because you've had, 33rd, how many cars are racing? 35,
I think
36?
I think it was like 81 or 82 cars registered this last 20. It was a 24-hour race also, if I didn't say that, but yeah.
So if you missed 5 hours and you got 33rd, that would imply that a lot of cars like aren't even making it all the way through, right?
There's I mean, it's kind of the nature of the race is, it's the endurance aspect of the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's not only endurance for the people, but most of it is endurance for the shitty cars that were racing out there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if we lived in like a Cars universe, this would be like a hell situation, right? If these were all like little sentient guys.
Yeah, man. That would be really a lot darker situation if the cars had feelings and like lives.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm glad we're aligned on that. Well, congrats, I guess. You got another one. Have you landed on a theme yet? Do you know what you're going to do for the next race?
Next season, where this season is over, we're looking at next season. It looks like we are going to go back to 2 cars next year. So we'll see if we can get 2 cars working. Maybe we'll talk about theming. But get the other car the engine is sitting on a stand right now, so it is it's a lot of work.
So do you mean like you'll have 2 cars so you can participate in more races, or you can bring 2 cars to a single race?
2 cars to a single race, or if we don't have enough drivers, 1 car per race, and if that car explodes, hey, we can do the next race with our other car.
Oh, so it'd be like 2 different competitors in your race team are going at the same time is what you mean.
That's right.
Not like you can swap out the car if it breaks. Okay. Because otherwise people would show up with like a rack of like 30 cars and be like, I'm finishing this thing.
Yeah, I think that level of money isn't really in this kind of racing, but I
come
guess
on, there'd be some dingus who shows up with like a tow truck of 30 cars. It's like,
it is funny, like, we're racing a 1981 Datsun that looks, I mean, I think it looks sweet, but it looks like a piece of shit. And this past race, we had somebody show up with like, I know you're not a huge car guy, but I think you'll know what this is. A
medium car guy. Drive a RAV4. It's like a medium-sized car.
Somebody showed up with a WRX STI, which was like a 2015 or something like that, which is just like a fast sports car. It's kind of, it's not really that. That's not the point of what we're trying to do.
Yeah,
it's against the spirit of the whole thing.
That makes me think like I went to a smaller liberal arts college, and it had basically no sports teams, but there was like a 4th division baseball team. But like the theater program at my college was much larger, and so like you'd see the sports guys walking around every once in a while, and it was like they were the nerds on the campus compared to everyone else.
Okay, I did not understand where you were going with this, but yeah, everybody was kind of like, "What? Yeah,
look at these nerds like coming in with good stuff." Yeah,
cool. Yeah, that's fun. I bet it's gonna work, isn't it?
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I bet you're gonna win, Hot Shot. Do you call him Hot Shot? Do people?
And they didn't win.
Nerds. Come on. Yeah. Wow. Well, Hambone, I got a little race of my own coming up. You have not acknowledged my my headgear that I've got going on for the show.
I don't see it. I don't see anything.
You don't see this at all? Well, I've got my sweet headband here. It says Nathan on it. Actually, the brand of the company. This is not a custom made headband. It's just Nathan brand. S-tier brand name.
I thought you might say something like that.
But I will be participating in my once a year half marathon on Sunday, this Sunday. So wish me luck. I think it's my equivalent of potentially dying in a oil fire or being shot through the chest from one of the pistons of my engine.
Absolutely the same level of danger. There's no difference. Yeah.
I think for me, it's the closest I'll get to dying in a ball of flame while competing in an endurance thing, I think.
Okay, that's an interesting. I hope that's not true for you. I hope there's more to it than for you than that.
Just self-immolate halfway through.
Yeah, I think anytime you're on a boat in the Lake of the Ozarks, you're only moments away from turning into a ball of fire. It's not an endurance race, but
Yeah,
I think you should. It'll happen for you. Don't worry about it.
unless you're like us and we run out of gas. Can't have a ball of flame if you run out of gas.
That's a good point.
All right, Hamba, let's talk about the Cardinals. It's done. We did it. It's over.
A lot to talk about this week, Nate.
Congrats to everybody. We've made it to the end of the 2025 season. And we've had some time to to think about it. We've had our press conferences. The playoffs are in full swing at this point. And the book is closed on the 2025 Cardinals. Ultimately, a disappointing season, I think, to say the least. But we're gonna spend the whole offseason just sort of recapping and going over the season.
Why is it disappointing? Why is the season disappointing? And I'm not disagreeing with you, but what is disappointing about 2025 for the St. Louis Cardinals?
I think ultimately the disappointment is that this was supposed to be the platform year. If we really took the year for what they said it was going to be coming in, this was a year where we're going to better understand what the future is going to look like and hopefully build the foundation for a competitive team in the near future. If you remember, we talked a lot in March and pretty much all off season and even into 2025 that 2026 is on the radar as a season where the Cardinals should be competitive and can go for it. And we were thinking, okay, the end of this bad period is in sight. We just have 25 to get through, and then we should come out the other side with a better team, one that we have some confidence in.
Yeah.
And we talked last week about what questions were answered. Maybe it was the week before. And the unfortunate reality is that some questions were answered, but those answers weren't the ones that we were hoping for. And so going into 2026, we are seeing that as another development platform year. And I think that's the ultimate disappointment. We're not leaving 2025 feeling great about the foundation of this team and the near-term future. There's certainly things to be positive about, and I think we'll go into those and there's a lot to like about the core of this team, but it's not there yet. And as we already saw Bloom and co, we're going to talk about the press conference. They're already saying 26 is not a competitive year, that's the core of my disappointment of 2025. The other element of it is that we had that little taste of maybe this will be a competitive year. And so that was fun. We all got hyped. The team is good. The team is good. The show is good. Wheels up, baby. But that obviously died about as quickly as it started. And we've kind of moved on from that for a little while now. But there was a little bit of a ooh, okay, maybe the team's just good right now. And then the emotional roller coaster of that, plus the just complete dwindling of the team by the end of the year is why it's disappointing.
Yeah. I think I agree with that. I'm thinking about, is it an Apollo 13 where Tom Hanks, he loops the shuttle around the backside of the moon to gain speed?
No, I think that's Big. I think that might be Big.
Big. It was in Big when he was in the shuttle and he has sex with that woman when he's 13. Yeah.
Because he did the slingshot maneuver around the moon.
So I think we're on the dark side of the moon. We're about to talk to Zoltan, and then we'll have sex with that woman who's twice our age. I think that's where the Cardinals are at right now. That's what happens in that movie, right?
I don't think they actually hook up like that. I think they just kiss.
They 100% do. Are you kidding me? Watch that movie again.
Okay.
That movie's problematic and disgusting.
Yeah, well, she doesn't know. I mean, he has all the affectations and seemingly mental capabilities of a 13-year-old, but he looks like Tom Hanks. All right.
Well,
and I mean, hubba hubba.
hey.
We're talking 80s Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I'm there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if I wanted to add much. I think I agree with pretty much everything you said. I think obviously there are good things, and we'll talk about them throughout the offseason, but the Ivan Herrera having
Sure.
the season that he was able to have, the promotion of Thomas Saggese, whatever his role looks like, the sticking around of Victor Scott, the final taking the cellophane off of Jose Fermin, aka the Machine 2.0.
Well, Mason Wynn, I think, obviously.
Mason Wynn, which is so fun. I was looking, he led the team in F4 this season from a position player side with it ended up negative in his offense. It was just purely base running and defense and Mason winning, that was it. I also think like it's easy to look past Matthew Liberatore's 2025 because he had like 6 to 8 weeks of a dip, but he really turned into it's very easy for me to predict or to project him to be a number 3 for the Cardinals next year and even possibly ascend. So there are good things. It kind of feels like this season really turned into more of a run out the clock on some of your big payroll responsibilities, run out the clock on just getting through this year, getting some development time in. And I think what's really ultimately disappointing, and I think what I've been able to kind of reflect on now that the season's over and kind of, so we, watching the Dodgers last night and other teams that are being successful right now in the very early stages of the playoffs.
Or just the Reds being there, by the way.
We'll talk about that. That one pisses me off. They are not a good baseball team. They are going to get bounced out. By the time this episode comes out, the Reds are going to be out of the playoffs.
Hey, but they're there.
They are there. But I think the problem that I've become frustrated with, or that I've been able to put into focus over the past week since we last talked, is the lack of quality that we have on the 40-man. I think that can absolutely sit here and talk about things that I really like about the 26-man roster and where the 26-man should be next year. And what we can look forward to, because almost all of these guys that we're looking at on roster resource are going to be here next year unless Bloom really blows some shit up, which he may do.
Yeah.
But the quality of the 40-man, I think, is really becoming more clear to me. And it is that is the biggest problem with the team right now, is the lack of depth. The lack of there's too much redundancy in some places. There's not enough in other places. There's not actual big league quality players. Some of them are too old. Some of them aren't effective enough. Some of them may develop, but I think I'm very curious to see how that is handled going forward, and I see that as the biggest issue. And it's an easy thing to say. It's like, get more good players.
Get good players. Yeah. Right. I would say that is equally balanced by the fact that there's virtually no real stars on the team from an offensive standpoint too. So we've just got a whole bunch of slightly above and slightly below average players. There's some star potential, but we haven't.
Sonny Gray's not a star, is he?
Well, I guess star is super subjective. Like in the broader baseball sense, obviously, I don't think he is. As far as performance goes, I would say he is.
Yeah.
But that
he's paid like a star.
Yeah, and what did we say last week? He was a top 20 pitcher in baseball. He was like, he's gonna end of the season as like number 16 or whatever.
Yeah.
So like he is from a performance standpoint, but from a like, if you're defining it from like with a popularity lens to it, then like no, not at all.
People don't know Sonny Gray.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the events of the last week. So we officially have said farewell to John Mozeliak. Wish him well. Bye.
Ultimately,
I was thinking about him this morning when prepping for this, and his career is almost like his career as GM and Pobo and all that is kind of like that of a a star baseball player in his own right, where he comes up, he's the hot new guy, wins a bunch early in his career, has kind of a late season resurgence, which would be like the 2019 era, and then has like 4 or 5 years that are pretty bad, and everyone kind of hates him by the time he retires, but is going to end up in the Hall of Fame, even though the last the last years of his career were pretty bad. And I think that's funny because that doesn't have to be that way for a GM. His unless his mind was aging or whatever, like you can just be successful at any age as a GM.
Right.
But he really has that like arc, of like huge success early and establishing himself and recreating the game and then just sort of tapering off.
And I like John Mozeliak, and I think that he served the Cardinals very well. A lot of people, it's inarguable that people who don't like John Mozeliak for whatever reason are going to say that Walt Jocketty and Jeff Lunau and whoever else propped him up. But the fact of the matter is that like every GM in the history of baseball has been propped up by the people that are around them or the people that were before them. I mean, you look at Chaim Bloom. He has propped up Craig Breslow in the Boston Red Sox organization. The Boston Red Sox are in the playoffs right now because of Chaim Bloom. It is nothing that Craig Breslow, I think, has done a pretty shit job so far, but he has, people like Roman Anthony that he can tap their shoulder and have them called up. And, it's really easy to look smart when you can call up Roman Anthony to your team. So, I do. It's a funny thing because I do think that like Jeff Lunau is probably pretty responsible for a lot of that early success. What I also think is funny is the thing that made John Mozeliak successful in the early part of his career, like acquiring and retaining Matt Holliday, the Colby Rasmus trade in 2011. Bringing in Carlos Beltran for a miraculous year, bringing in Lance Berkman for a great late season. There was a lot of these types of things. And Johnny Peralta, I always thought that was kind of an under the radar. Like you got a guy off of a steroid suspension. He came in and he had, I think it was 1.5 really great years, like all-star level years.
Mm-hmm.
He was really good at bringing those guys in. And then, and then also had the Alan Craigs and the other
the Memphis Mafia element,
right?
Which is half the coaching staff at this point, right?
Right. Alan Craig needs to be a hitting coach or something.
He's somewhere. He's like in the Red Sox organization or something like that. C7 will correct us later, but it's he's in baseball. He's in an organization somewhere. There's no way to know right now. There's no way.
Either the game passed him by, which is kind of my theory on what happened, or he became less aggressive, or he became less great. Like there was a thing that he was really, really good at, and then that changed at some point, or he didn't have the ability to spend from ownership or from roster crunch, or became so gun shy because of some bad moves. Obviously, the Adolis Garcia and Randy Rosarena, I think those haunt him. Like, I think he wakes up one night a week thinking about those trades.
Yeah. Ozuna scaling that wall for no reason, falling on his face.
Sandy Alcantara winning a Cy Young. Zach Gallen, he probably feels better about that in this moment. But there was a lot of future value that he left out there. So I don't know, why that got to where it was, but I just those are just off the top of my head. There was a lot of really smart, really clever, short, hyper valuable deals that Mo was responsible for. And I don't want to give him too much credit, but the Pujols deal, I mean, have you had more fun as a Cardinals fan than Albert Pujols being back with the Cardinals and then actually having success?
I mean, he definitely lucked out because I even remember us talking about it. Like, this is what a like obvious like ticket sales kind of move and stuff. And, Pujols was considering retiring early. It was going so poorly and all that. And then, of course, we all know what happened. But sure, I mean, it worked out great. Maybe Mozeliak saw that coming. Who knows? I agree. I think he definitely was not a very effective GM for the last handful of years, and I think there's a lot of reasons to unpack that. But and I think you pretty much stated all of them. But as a whole, it's undeniable he's been one of the best GMs, Pobos, or whatever in Cardinal history, and has a mark in overall baseball history for that era, that period of time, the late 2000s through the early 2010s. He was arguably the best in the game, and a lot of teams were modeling themselves off of what he was doing. So it's cool. I certainly hope, Chaim Bloom is young. I was thinking about that too. Like, he conceivably, we could be talking about Chaim Bloom for 30 years. You know what I mean? Like, the majority of the rest of our like adulthoods might be Chaim Bloom influenced.
Chaim Bloom is an 80s baby. I don't think I realized how young he was. He was born in 1983. He's 42 years old.
Yeah. So, he is he's like technically our generation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's going to be around for a while. And did you watch his press conference?
No, again, that aforementioned job I have.
Yeah.
I was following the chatter in the bird scored, but I was not able to watch it myself.
Yeah, I watched it, or I had it playing, and I was sort of like checking in on the video feed, which was funny. Maybe they'd already shown that they were there, but I didn't know they were right next to him because the camera was focused in on Chaim Bloom the whole time until someone asked a question to Build a Wit, and the camera just panned over, and Build a Wit's just like hunched over, sitting right next to him, which was quite shocking. But I think I'll talk about some of
the looking type of...
yeah. The speech, his opening remarks, were fine. This is the most like prepared moment, and it was obvious that it had been prepared highly. I think you could have asked ChatGPT to write a speech for an incoming Pobo for the St. Louis Cardinals, and it probably would have come out with something like this. And that's not to say it was bad, but it's everything you would expect a new guy taking over such an important role for the Cardinals to say. A lot of, we're going to respect the Cardinal way. This is what this franchise has been built on. It obviously hasn't been there for a while now. We're going to do it better, blah, blah, yada, yada, yada. I care about respecting the franchise and the history, and I'm honored to be here, and I'm so excited, that sort of thing, which I wouldn't expect anything otherwise. He's not going up there to drop big news.
I'm also sure that is true. Like, I don't think that's like, the Cardinals have the still a little bit of the shine, and at the end of the day, there's only 30 of these jobs, and he has one of them. So he is, that's not eyewash. I'm sure that is all true.
I think it's true too. And that's what I mean to say. Like, I don't even want it to come off as a criticism when I say that it was like sort of exactly what you'd expect, because it's probably what I would do if I was in that situation. It's what you would do. It's what we would all do. It's kind of what you're expected to do in that moment. But I was like, this is fine. I wasn't watching it like, oh yeah, hell yeah, new guy.
I'm like fired up.
Yeah, it's just like, well, all right, he's saying the things you're supposed to say.
Yeah.
As true as I do think that they are. After that, there was questions, and from that, we did get a little bit more information. It was from there essentially revealed or confirmed. We all kind of knew this going in, that the team will be prioritizing long-term decision making.
Sure.
And I thought he framed it pretty well. He said, we're never going to concede anything, which I think is his way of saying we're not going to tank. We're not going to like purposefully try to field a bad team. Right. So we're going to try to win every game. But if the decision is short-term versus long-term, we're going to make the long-term decision. And so I think, to put that into practical terms, that would have meant like last year or 2 years ago, like, he wouldn't have signed like Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson. He would have looked for a longer term answer. Those were short term solutions, that sort of thing. And I think that's right. I think we're all on board for that. And I'm hoping that this marks a new period of Cardinal history where we're getting clear expectations set from the president of baseball operations about what we expect this season to look like. He's not saying we're not going to win in 2026, but he's not going out there and doing what Mozeliak would do all the time and say like, "Oh, you never know. You never know what might happen. We think we're going to be better than everyone expects," which just never felt honest from day one. So I overall thought the press conference was pretty good. I know you weren't able to watch it, but what's been your takeaway from what's been shared so far?
Yeah, I don't know. I think what is exciting is, and this isn't a specific age thing. I think it's just more of a like mentality and upbringing. He's a Yale guy. He is the new school. He is the direction that baseball is going. I think I'm just kind of excited for a change in mentality, a change in thought process. I think, we were talking about like in the Bird Scored, like focusing on surplus value and having that conversation. And my read of the situation is that there's going to be a focus on that. There's going to be a focus on youth, and probably being smart, like maybe spending a little money to trade Sonny Gray or somebody like that to get prospects back, to spend your dollars more wisely. And I'm hopeful that Chaim Bloom is. I know that's how he thinks. That's how he has thought in the past. I was reading a couple of days ago about his deal to trade Christian Vazquez for Wilyer Abreu and Emmanuel Valdez. Like focusing, we have a great catcher, a great defensive catcher. We are pushing right now, but I see surplus value in getting this guy, Wilyer Abreu, who I am overvaluing and the Astros are undervaluing. And now they have, the Red Sox are sitting on their starting right fielder for the foreseeable future. I'm hoping that that is the change in style that we get going forward. And that might mean that players that we like watching are moved out earlier than we feel that they should be, or we might want them to stick around. But look at the stupid Cleveland Guardians team that I hate so much. They are the kings of doing that, and they're sitting in the playoffs right now, and the Cardinals aren't. And now, I think, to be clear, I think the Guardians are in the same boat that the Reds are, and they are like such a god-awful offense. I just don't think it's going to work. But they're there, and we're not.
Yeah. It was asked, and he mentioned that there's likely to be some tough decisions this offseason. And what you're talking about is something that we have wanted Mozeliak and crew to do for years now, which is just make a decision and deal from surplus value. What if we had traded Lars Nootbaar last offseason? What if we had traded him during peak World Baseball Classic fandom? Maybe that wouldn't have been the right idea, but I don't know. Like, we knew we had too many outfielders. This guy's value is probably above his actual value right now. Let's see if we can capitalize on it. I'm into that idea. It was someone asked, I think it might have been Derek Gould, said like, you're famous from the Rays, and everyone knows on the Rays, once a player hits their fifth year, they're traded. Is that what you're going to be doing in St. Louis? And he had a pretty good answer. He said, every organization is its own. You cannot build your organization modeled exactly off after another organization's framework. So he said, I am not going to try to rebuild what we did with the Rays here. It is different in St. Louis, and we will have a different process. Which makes sense.
Well, yeah, the amount of money you could spend should be at least double that. So that's part, like the Rays don't want to do that. They have to do that.
Yeah. Someone asked, what's payroll going to look like? Things like that. And Bill DeWitt, Sr. said, oh, it's funny. We haven't talked about payroll yet. I'm like, bullshit. You've not talked about payroll. No fucking way. You and the president of baseball operations, who's been there for almost 2 years, you and him have not talked about payroll.
I guarantee you Nate, wherever that office is, there's a TV with a dashboard running 24/7 showing payroll in, out, all expenditures.
Yeah.
And
They are
projecting.
Chaim Bloom is currently deeply aware of what his financial opportunities will be. But they did say, like, our free agents off the table for this offseason, and Chaim Bloom said, no, nothing is off the table. People really tried to dig in on, like, what his strategy this offseason is going to be. And I think he answered honestly, which is essentially like, you can't answer that without knowing how the market develops. Right. That's not his words, but they asked has there been a who's in and who's out list? Because he had mentioned there's going to be some tough decisions.
Right.
And he said, no, we don't have like a list of players we're keeping and players we're getting rid of. It's all going to depend. It's all going to evolve as we work. And that makes a lot of sense, because you might get blown out. You might not want to trade. You might have decided, all right, we think there's enough in Alec Burleson that we want to keep him. And then a team comes around and makes an offer. They should be flexible enough to make that trade regardless of what their plans were. So sure. I think that's what he's saying, is that we have to see how this all develops, and maybe the right free agent market, it evolves in a way different than we were expecting. And it does make sense for them to hop in and spend on a good guy.
We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. There's a lot of quality pitchers on the free agent market. And that seems like a no-brainer for the Cardinals, is to grab somebody who knows of what quality. But maybe they find a good deal. Yeah. Maybe they go get a Merrill Kelly and then flip them at the deadline. Who knows what they could? They could do anything.
I would love for it. We've seen teams do it every year. Teams that know they're not going to compete, go and get a veteran that you hope has a good half season, and then you flip them for long-term assets. It seems so obvious to me, and the only thing that stops you from doing is the willingness to spend the money and give the roster spot. And seems like we have I'm hopeful that we have a front office that's smart enough now to recognize those opportunities, because teams are doing it all over the place.
Right.
Let's go through. So we have gotten some clarity on a few guys, a few things that we've been wondering about. So let's run through some of that news. I mentioned it up at the top. Bloom said that he expects consistency from the on-field coaching staff, though contracts and things still need to be decided. But it's been all but confirmed, and maybe officially confirmed. In fact, I read this morning that they're actually talking about an extension, but Oli Marmol will be back for 2026 and potentially just the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
And we've talked this to death at this point. I think where we landed on is it's not uncommon for a new ownership group to replace the manager, but Marmol himself has done nothing to warrant losing his job. And so, frankly, I'm kind of glad that they're going to keep Marmol around. I want to see what he can do with an actually good team, because I think almost every problem that we have with Marmol is actually rooted in the fact that he's only been given bad teams. And I'm interested to see what he looks like with a competitive team.
Yeah. I think we mentioned this a while back, but I think if the focus is on developing your young players, which I think that is the focus, then Marmol is the obvious choice. That is what he does. That is his expertise. That is why he was the youngest manager in baseball, is because how well he performed at that. It seems very clear from what we've heard Marmol talk about since Bloom has been on that they are in lockstep. They talk fairly regularly. They are aligned on player development. And it would make sense that if you have a GM or a POBO, whatever the hell Chaim Bloom's role is, focused on player development throughout the minor leagues and on the major league roster, that you would have a manager that's doing the same thing. I also we haven't talked about this as much now that Marmol has been here for a while, but Marmol speaks the same language as Chaim Bloom. They speak the more advanced development, pitch design, hitting. They are speaking. They come from the same school, so to speak. So I think it makes sense. And yeah, I think we absolutely gave Marmol shit for the way he was handling the media last year.
Yeah.
But I think that's cleaned up. Does he get enough out of his players? I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
I think anyone who, unless you are in that dugout, I don't think anybody can really speak to that. I also kind of like, I don't think he is, now that Tyler O'Neill is gone, I don't think he's ruffling any feathers.
No, and that was shitty. That was like also Marmol's like first 3 months in the job too. Like
Right.
that sort of stuff. Like I said, I just said it's coachable. He's gotten better. Everything else that we talk about from a manager standpoint, which is the player relation. I've said before, I think it's more of a people management job at this point than it is anything else. Everybody in the clubhouse seems to think that he's great. And that to me is like the barometer, and I don't know, like there are certainly some failures of player development over the last 3 years of his tenure. But also Brendan Donovan's come out of nowhere. We see Ivan Herrera. There's like a lot of examples that might be his part.
We also know though that like it's kind of hard to blame Marmol for that because it has been widely reported that the minor leagues and the major leagues weren't even talking to each other, weren't even having the same types of development conversations. So like,
yes,
if you get a Jordan Walker and he's been doing X and then the big leagues you do Y, how the hell, whose fault is that? That's not Oli Marmol's fault.
Chaim Bloom, I meant to say this. Chaim Bloom in the conference said, he mentioned the restaffing of the minor league system, which I think was something under his purview over the last year. He talked about adding a new layer of coordinators and a new layer of leadership. And he said, if guys are going to struggle, I'm paraphrasing here. He said, guys are going to struggle as they move from level to level if you don't have a plan in place for them at every level. And then he said, it's common sense, which I'm sure, I bet he would have loved to take that back because, but it's true. It's very, very true. Like that was such I'm assuming not purposeful because he's standing there with all of these guys, but that was such a direct burn on the organization and how things had been set up. So you're totally right, and I was glad to see Chaim Bloom. I mean, we already know the solution has been in place. They've been working on fixing that.
Yeah.
But like, you get a little sense of him and his view on things when you hear him kind of accidentally, or maybe not accidentally, I don't know, but roast the entire previous organization for that failure.
I'm sure he wasn't taking like a shot at Mo. I think it was more he's probably passionate about that.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And then was asked that question in the way and was like, well, it's obvious, right? This is what we need to be doing.
This is yeah. But it's common sense is such a I mean, a shot, but I don't think he meant it as a shot. No. But yeah, totally. So so Marmol's back. Probably most of the coaching staff will be back, assuming unless they themselves get offers elsewhere. But it seems like they want to keep most guys around, which I think is fine. If they think it's the right call, I don't have enough information or insight to say who should be bench coach or whatever. That's fine.
I love seeing John Jay and Daniel Descalso down there. I can from a aesthetic point of view, it's great.
Yeah. On the player side, some interesting things. So Willson Contreras, who I think is easily the most valuable trade chip that the Cardinals have, he's got a foot in both camps. So he's saying kind of what Arenado said last year, but as opposed to last year where Willson Contreras said, I will not be traded, or I will refuse any trade. He is now saying he will accept a trade for the right situation, but his preference is to stay with the Cardinals and potentially long-term stay with the Cardinals, meaning extension. I think this is the right take for him. As part of his right and his deal is the no trade clause, is he doesn't want to get traded to some shitty team. Like if you're going to be on a non-competitive team, you'd rather it be the Cardinals than like, a lot of the other organizations that are bad. You got to at least feel more comfortable playing in St. Louis and hopefully feeling more comfortable about the direction of the team. But also if you're Willson Contreras, you're, getting up there and you got a shot to go play for the Dodgers or the Phillies or a team that's like in contention right now, then obviously you should take it and go and have another big moment in your career. He's already won one World Series. So I think it's the right take for him, and I think it's the right take for all these guys on trade clauses or no trade clauses. So we'll see. I've gone back and forth on this. Part of me would absolutely love to actually just have Willson Contreras for the next 5 years. I do think his profile will age well. I like him as a player. He's fun. He's everything you kind of want in like a guy on your team. Everyone else hates him, but he's your guy, that sort of thing. And I can see the value of that veteran presence and all of that. But I also, if a team is truly going into rebuild and we're not necessarily sure when we're going to compete again, does it make sense to lock in a guy that's getting into his 30s, that is a first baseman? Like, I think there's a very solid argument to say you should maximize his value now and turn him into younger, more long-term controllable assets. I'd be kind of happy either way, I guess, which is kind of a good spot to be. What's your take on it?
I hate how much I like Willson Contreras going to the Phillies. Just thinking about how that aligns well for their team. It really balances out their lineup. You put Bryce Harper back in right field, Willson Contreras.
If they want him there. There's some talk. I think they want Harper out of the outfield now as he, enters his mid-30s.
I mean, he's been playing first base. I've heard the other end of that. I think he's probably a better defender than a lot of their team. But anyways, I just think that would make a lot of sense, and I could see him being very successful doing that. I think this is. I think also this might speak a little bit to Oli Marmol. There has to be a portion of Willson Contreras being so willing to play for the Cardinals because he likes being managed by Oli Marmol, which I think makes a lot of sense. But I think no matter what, it makes sense for Willson Contreras to say this. It's hard to trade a guy who everyone knows wants to leave and it is miserable. But I think that, he earned his no trade clause. So he can be withholding if he wants to. I think it's highly likely that he gets traded though, because of the value that you're talking about. I don't know if the Cardinals are going to get blown out of the water, but they can move his salary, which isn't tiny. It also isn't crazy. And I think that they could probably move it without throwing a dime at it and still get quality players back. I think he's probably gone. And I think, it'll stink because I think he's great to watch, great to play, or he has been a great Cardinal. I'm a big fan of him. But it is what it is.
Yeah, totally. I hope he does get traded to a competitor that we like. I would love for him to go to like the Mariners or the Blue Jays or something. We can just root for him unabashedly. If he ends up on another NL team, I'll be sad, but there's certainly a lot of good spots for him there too. Moving to Sonny Gray, he is willing to waive his no trade clause, which again makes a lot of sense. Last year of his deal, just had a really good year. And I think there's probably a lot of teams that would be interested in him. However, he is owed $35 million for 2026, which is a lot of money. So I think the framework for this will be something similar to what we saw with the Mets when they traded was it Scherzer and DeGrom 2 years ago, where in order to get good prospects back, they essentially paid for the majority of those contracts. We'll see. I would love for the Cardinals to be savvy in that way and essentially buy a good prospect off of a competitive team. Because if you can even pay $15 million of that contract, maybe 20, now I think every team that's competing would be looking for a Sonny Gray. If they could pay him 15 to 20 a year for his production, that almost like at this point in baseball, every team can afford that, and any competing team would see that as a huge value. So I think there's a possibility for a good market for Sonny Gray and a really good return. But it's going to come solely down to how much are the Cardinals willing to pay, unless they can just like convince the Mets or one of these teams.
I don't think it's going to be as big of a deal as you think it is. 1 year, $35 million. It's a lot of money, but it's 1 year. And teams are willing to take that risk. The Cardinals were willing to take that risk. Now, maybe they knew they were going to trade him, but you look at teams like Boston, teams like the Dodgers.
You're saying
Padres.
It's not going to be that big of a deal, and that the money's not going to be that big of a deal, not that the trade is going to be that big of a deal.
I'm saying that I don't think the money is going to be the thing that holds this up. I could see the teams that I just listed just taking the money. I think it would be smart for the Cardinals to buy down it so that you get more value back. But I think I think people are Sonny Gray is really, really good. Sonny Gray is really, really consistent. Sonny Gray has not taken any steps back. The spin rates are still high. The strikeout rates are still high. The auxiliary numbers are all still great. And if you can get that guy for 1 year, albeit at a high cost, I mean, that is what front offices want. They want this is exactly what you want if you're a postseason aim team. You can just slot in if you're one of those teams, if you're the Red Sox, for instance, putting Sonny Gray right behind Garrett Crochet, how much better would they feel in this wild card round with the Yankees right now if they didn't have to throw Brian Bayo out today and they could throw Sonny Gray right after Crochet. So I think it's going to be easy to move. They might have to buy it down, or they might choose to buy it down a little bit, but I really don't see the concern.
Yeah. I mean, to remind everyone, he just had over 200 strikeouts and a basically right at 3 xFIP. Those are elite numbers. So this is a very good pitcher. And I guess we'll see. I hope you're right. I think 35 is pretty high, but some teams have a lot of money and are willing to just spend. So we'll see. But at the end of the day, he is almost certainly gone. Willson,
you said the Mets, right? The Mets, they would kill for a starting. They would probably be in the postseason if they had a starting pitcher like Sonny Gray. Yeah. And they have more money than anybody. So that just go buy Sonny Gray.
Yeah. So that one is pretty much a sure thing. One way or another, he's going to be traded. And then Nolan Arenado has already stated that he'll be adding teams to his trade list. He's doing sort of the same thing that he did last year, but seems even more willing. He doesn't want to get traded to just anybody. He'd rather play for the Cardinals, and the Cardinals have said, we're not going to just dump him. You and I had discussed last week if maybe they would even go as far as to DFA him if no one can trade. If they can't trade him, they've said they will not. They said we'll be happy to have him as our starting third baseman. But with all that said, I'm pretty sure they're going to find a deal. I have, technically Mozeliak found 2 last offseason, and it just Arenado turned them both down. So I think between Chaim Bloom and Arenado's maybe more willingness to expand his perception on where he'd be willing to go, he'll almost certainly be traded. And with all the fanfare of sort of a farewell moment last year, I'm sure there's a lot of motivation to move on from him.
So what I think is needs to be called out is, and I think it's highly likely that all 3 of those guys are going to move.
Yeah.
Miles Michaelis, he will be off the payroll, obviously, assuming some type of Hail Mary from Chaim Bloom to bring him back. We are looking at $86.5 million off of the payroll for 2026 if those guys are moved and if the entire contract is moved. We were talking about it's probably you're going to buy down some of Sonny Gray's contract, maybe even Wilson's, maybe Nolan's, who knows. But if all of those contracts are moved in full, and Miles Michaelis, like I said, $86.5 million are off of your 2026 payroll. That means every other player on the roster is either pre-arb or in arbitration. The only players who are going to be in their 3rd year of arbitration are Romero and King, and everybody else is either in the arb process or, like I said, pre-arb. So the Cardinals are going to have, if that all happens, they are going to have one of the smallest payrolls in all of MLB next year. And that seems highly unlikely to me.
Yeah.
I think it'd be very silly to run out like a $30 or $40 million payroll.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And they said in the press, they said exactly what you'd expect, is that everything is available to us right now. But I really do. I'm naive, but I really am hopeful that they are looking for the right 4-year deal, the right 5-year deal, for one of these guys that besides the short-term trade value thing, but the right, like, we think this guy will be good for the next 4 years and will be part of this team through the rebuild, and let's buy him now,
Yeah.
They'd be silly not to. We have seen pretty much every rebuilding team. You don't just go from like mediocre team to spend a ton in one offseason, come out the next side as a super competitor. You're building it year over year by adding in the right free agents at the right time. And with all of this payroll capacity, they would be silly not to. So I mean, this offseason could be really interesting and a lot of fun. I'd be very surprised if Chaim Bloom is going to come in and just sort of let it roll over. No one who's new to a job, especially a job of this level and of this, visibility, like, you want to come in and make your mark. You want to show you're doing something, right? So between the trades and the excess payroll, I'm pretty hopeful for a high movement offseason.
And it's not even like, just a lot of times when new leaders come on, they'll just do something to do something. There's a lot to do here. There's a lot that can be done to improve. There are guys who are getting close to be ending their arbitration that we're just talking about. There are a lot of moves to be made, and maybe we'll see. What is the difference? What has Mozeliak been valuing for the past 20 years that Chaim Bloom is going to be like, that's actually not how I want this roster to be built around? Yeah. And my hope is that it's strikeouts and power. I hope he is focusing on hitting the ball over the wall, getting guys that are more suited to do that, even in St. Louis where it was hard to do, and getting guys that can strike people out. And I think that's going to be the biggest change, is that we'll move on from the Palantes of the world, and I hate to say it, but the who's our second baseman? The Brendan Donovans.
Yeah.
and find some power and strikeouts. Yeah, I know. Yikes.
Yeah. I agree. So, and we'll be bringing it to you all off season, won't we, Hambone? We're here every week covering the news. And if you want to show your support for this show and the work that we put in to bring it to you every single week, consider joining our Patreon, patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. Congratulations to Sloppy Taco for winning the Bird Scored Fantasy Baseball League. This is a 14-team league, Hambone. That is no small feat. So congrats to Sloppy Taco. The offer is out there, Sloppy, if you're listening. If you want to join the show and compete against Ben in one of the games, let me know and we'll make it happen one way or another. If you want to get in on this and also the Bird Scored and all the other things, check it out, patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. We also appreciate everyone who takes the time to leave us a review on their favorite podcast platform, and to anyone that tells their friends and family. It all helps. It's a great time to hop on the show. We're only going to be talking about how this team can be better and maybe about a lot of exciting offseason things. We'll see. Hambone, where can people find us otherwise online?
Yeah, check us out on all the socials. We're on Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok. You can listen to this show on Spotify, like and review and share us over there as well. You can watch this show on YouTube. You can look at the tiredness in Nate and I's eyes this morning as we're recording on youtube.com. You can find all of that information at talkingaboutbirds.com. We have t-shirts, the podcast is there, everything, all that shit. You can email us at talkaboutbirds@gmail.com. And of course, you can call us and leave a voicemail or send us a text message to 848-48-BIRDS. That's 848-482-4737.
848-48-BIRDS. All right, Hambone, let's check in on the playoffs real quick. We had 4 games yesterday. We'll have more today. By the time this comes out, there may be some eliminations. How are you feeling about this first set of playoff games?
Stupid dumb Reds. They're going to be absolutely torched. I feel it in my heart. the fact that they lost the Hunter Green game so poorly last night. I mean, and then it's just Shohei Ohtani. Like he's just the man. He is the man. He hit 50 something home runs this year. He
55.
Two last night. One of them against Hunter Green. And what's crazy about that homer he hit off Hunter Green last night, that it was an inside on the black 100-mile-per-hour fastball. And Shohei turns on it, pulls it, 118-mile-an-hour line drive homer. He's just better than you are.
Yeah.
And I say that to every other player on earth. He is just that good.
See him get behind a podcast microphone, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. He probably still, like, English is the second language. He would still obliterate us. I'm
low
sure.
bar.
Because he's also funny, which, whatever. It's annoying. So yeah, I really see the Reds as like, I just think their team is bad. I think their offense is bad. I think that, they have enough pitching to be a little bit scary, but with Eli De La Cruz playing the way that he is right now, it's just, it's hard to imagine. I also just think that, like, I think the world of Eli De La Cruz, but I think the Dodgers are the type of team and the type of pitching staff, and they will roll out their pitching staff in a way where they can just, like,
neutralize.
Yeah, they're just smart and good, and they have enough talent that you can't really have one guy and go beat them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Dodgers were my pick to win this year at the beginning of the season, and they still are this year, or here at the end of the season. I mean, obviously, the regular season was not as successful as they had hoped. They had some problems that are made worse by the grueling 162-game process, but in any 3, 5, 7-game series, like, I don't know how you really pick any other team. But you got to play the games. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I think I mostly are they. I don't know. I like the Phillies a lot. With the Dads and the Cubs, I mean, this is the series I'm really concerned with. We got a game that's happening later today, so this series might be over by the time this podcast comes out. The Cubbies go up last night, or yesterday, I guess, with a couple of homers. But the Padres got Dylan Cease going today. Obviously, I'm rooting hard for the Padres.
Cardinal Nation is united as we root against the Cubs.
Shilty and the Dads going against the Cubbies, so we'll see where that goes. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was that Tarek Skubal performance against. Now, again, I was reading. I think the Guardians have it's like the top 20 or top 15 lowest on base percentage for a playoff team of all time. I think their team on base percentage is like 297 or something like that. And Tarek Skubal is the best pitcher on planet Earth right now. So, he still did it. He still went out there and shoved. I think he had over 110 pitches thrown, 14 strikeouts, went 7-8 innings. I mean, he's just the man.
Well, and I don't know. Did you watch that? I watched a lot of that game. Did you see how it ended? The Guardians get a man on third, nobody out, bottom of the ninth, down by 1, and they are unable to score. So it was, even with all that, it was a close game. The Tigers are my pick to go to the World Series. I know that's a wild card pick, but I like them, and I think it would be fun. So we'll see. Most likely they get beaten by the Mariners in the next round. But
having a guy like Skubal in the playoffs really
helps.
It's a secret weapon, and what's funny is Javi Baez. What did he have? 2 hits and a great play to end the game.
If he gets hot at the right time.
If Javi Baez gets hot at the right game, I'm a huge believer in Riley Green. There's a lot on their team. There's a lot to like there. And like I said, the secret weapon of Skubal, the best pitcher in baseball, is really nice.
Yeah. Yep. All right. We'll continue to do playoff check-ins as the playoffs continue. But let's move into our league news section. What do you got for us, Hambone?
Yeah, one thing I just wanted to hit I don't know if we brought this up, but the Mets collapse, falling out of the playoffs on the 162nd game of the season. I did not. I guess I wasn't paying attention to the National League East as closely as I should have been, but I learned that the past 3 months of the season, the Marlins actually had a better record than the Mets. The Mets had a super hot start. We all know about their payroll. We know about, Juan Soto had, arguably one of the better seasons of his career with did he lead the league in stolen bases?
Soto?
Oh my God, he did.
What did he end up at? Did he lead
38.
This guy.
43. He had 43 home runs, 38 stolen bases. He also led the league in walks on base percentage. So, just the fact that they did all of that, but it really just comes down to is like what we were talking about. They should get a Sonny Gray. Their unwillingness to spend on pitching or to go get a guy. Like, why spend that much money on Sean Manaea when you could go get, I don't know, literally anyone else? Max Fried. They could have bought Max Fried. They could have gotten anybody.
Yeah.
It's funny, and Pete Alonso's a free agent now.
Yep. He had a pretty good year, so we'll see. Someone will sign him, although it wouldn't surprise me if the Mets bring him back at this point. Like, after that season, and like he was one of the good moments of that season for them, so I wouldn't be surprised if they just end up just signing him for 5 years or something.
Yeah. But, I just wanted to bring that up on the pod. The Mets just turned to dust, and I cannot believe that it was them versus the Marlins. The Marlins won out. 2 out of 3. Yeah.
I
don't know if you saw that. The Marlins, they took a team photo after the win. Yeah.
It's their World Series, baby. They eliminated the Mets. How good does that feel?
I saw a lot of people like throwing, mud at them for doing that. I loved it. I thought it was great. Also, Marlins are going to be good next year. I'm calling it right now.
That could be fun. I could see it. They've got some talent.
I think they're going to be good.
Yeah. All right, we've got like 8 manager changes already.
All right, I'm just going to go down them all and add any flavor if you want. Bruce Bochy, him and the Rangers mutually agreed to end their tenure together. The Giants have fired Bob Melvin. Second time he's been fired in a relatively short amount of time. The Twins fire Rocco Baldelli which is kind of unfair. Look at what the Twins did to their team and everything like that. I like Rocco. The Angels have said that they are not going to extend or pick up Ron Washington's option, which makes sense with his health issues, of course. And then it was just reported this morning that Brian Snitker will not return as Braves manager in 2026. So there's a lot of job openings all over the place right now. I think the fun thing is that I almost guarantee Skip Schumacher is going to get the job in Texas, take over the Rangers position, because he is working in the front office right now. And it seems highly likely that he'll get that job. So good for Skip. I don't know if I have any other hot takes for the rest of these guys.
Have you not seen the rumor about the Angels?
I will believe it when I see it.
Okay.
So what Nate is referring to is that Albert Pujols coming in and being the Angels manager going forward. I guess when I'm saying this out loud and knowing how Artie Moreno does things, it's probably going to happen, right?
Yeah.
He's just going to, it's a most Artie Moreno type. And I'm not even saying it's going to be a bad deal, but it's the most Artie Moreno type deal that there is. So let's report it right now. Albert Pujols is the manager for the Angels.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense too. He has said he wants to be a manager. There's an opening for that team. The Cardinals obviously don't have an opening, and even if there was an opening, I think Yachty is probably ahead in the pecking order as far as former stars coming back to be your manager. Yeah. So if Pujols wants to get in and there's an offer and it's available, it's a team that he knows, then there you go. It's pretty clear. It'll be sad, but I mean, his whole legacy is 1/2 Cardinals and 1/2 Angels, for better or for worse. And so if he's going to go and be a manager anywhere else, the Angels make a lot of sense, and I don't know. Hopefully, he can do something well for them over there.
Until they get a new owner, I don't see that team turning around. They can't.
It doesn't seem likely. So if I'm Pujols, I'm like, oh, is this where I want to go? But there's only 30 jobs, and if you got one in front of you, you kind of got to take it, and you never know. Maybe you can be the guy who turns it all around.
Yeah, at least hopefully you don't shit the bed or throw your players under the bus for missing bunts and stuff like Ron Washington was doing last season.
And the real twist will be when Ron Washington gets like the Twins job or whatever.
Well, he could get the Braves job, if he gets healthy. He was a Brave for a while, a Braves coach for a while. All right, final piece of league news. The MLB released they had a press release earlier this week saying that year-over-year viewership has increased during the 2025 season. Sunday Night Baseball alone had a 21% increase in viewership. It was reported that will be transferred to NBC next season. ESPN will no longer be broadcasting that. But TBS had a spike in viewership. All of the big platforms had a spike in viewership in baseball right now. Yep. And I think that's fun. I think it also, anytime the owners are complaining about anything, tell them to shut the fuck up.
Yep.
But I think like Aaron Judge, Bobby Witt Jr., Shohei Ohtani, like we have a bit of a star-driven game right now. And Tarek Skubal isn't a household name, but we have some guys that are Juan Soto. There are big names.
Paul Skeens even. I mean, small market, but
yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, this is good. We should be happy about this. It's easy to put on your pessimistic hat, which you and I both go to when we think about ownership and the money in the game and whatnot. But as fans of the game, we should be very happy that viewership is going up and it's becoming more popular.
We're just always told that baseball is dying. And I'm as somebody who goes to a lot of games out here in Colorado, I don't see it.
Yeah. If it should be dying anywhere, it should be dying in Colorado. But also, you mentioned the star power. We got to be fair to the rule changes. I mean, it is causation correlate. It's correlation causation. I don't know, but it's a faster game, and more people are watching now.
I think there is, and no matter how you look at it, pitch clock has been a huge boon to the game.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, Hambone, I think that's it for league news.
That's all I got, dude.
All right, we're going to wrap up this episode by wrapping up the little game we play every year. It's Draft Day Heroes and Hatchlings Edition. Did I remember to put the song in for once? I don't know. We'll all find out together.
Getting a lot of shit in the Birds Court for how much you suck.
We'll see. Did I do it? Am I making a note on the outline right now? Put in song. Yes, I am. We'll see if it
make all the notes you want. If you don't read it,
I think we all just enjoyed it. So shout out to associate sound producer Chris for the awesome song. All right, so this is a game we play every year at the beginning of the season. Hambone and I do a draft. We draft 3 guys from the 26-man and then 3 guys from anywhere in the organization. Whoever accrues the most FWAR during the season wins. We check in every quarter of the season, so this is the end of it. We've had a couple, 2 years. It's been very, very close. Yeah. We'll see how it wraps up this year.
Well, based on our last conversation, I'm not feeling great.
Yeah. Well, to remind everyone, Hambone, your draft, and you had the first overall pick, and then it went back and forth. You took Nolan Arenado, Lars Nootbaar, Brendan Donovan, Jose Fermin, Thomas Saggese, and Riley O'Brien. Fun thing about yours is all 6 of your players played in the major leagues this year and had a positive impact from a WAR perspective.
And I thought that's all I would need, Nate. I thought that alone would give me the championship here.
Right, which I took a slightly different approach. I did Sonny Gray, Mason Wynn, Ivan Herrera, Michael McGreevy, and then Quinn Matthews and Tink Hence. At the time, I said, I don't expect both of these to make their debut, but I expect one of them to, and hopefully they have enough of impact that they help me. As you all know, Quinn Matthews and Tink Hence did not play in 2025 at the major league level. So let's run down some of the numbers. This is now recapping their total WAR for the season. Nolan Arenado ends at 0.9. Brutal. I don't think we need to.
That is shocking.
Yeah. He is up from last quarter, but not much. Lars Nootbaar ends at 0.8.
Maybe also, more shocking.
Yeah. Especially because he played all year, essentially all year. He was down from 1 at last quarter.
Damn.
Brendan Donovan, your best pick, 2.9. He put up half WAR in the last quarter of the season.
Thank goodness.
Jose Fermin, your boy, 0.6. So he was almost as valuable as Lars Nootbaar and Nolan Arenado.
Machine 2.0.
Thomas Saggese, 0.5. And future closer of the St. Louis Cardinals, Riley O'Brien, put up 0.3.
Wow.
So
I thought that would have been higher too.
Yeah, it's just hard for a reliever. Even in a good month, it's just not going to, like 1 WAR is like a great season for a reliever, right? So your total was 6 F4 for the season, up 1.2 from the previous quarter. My team, Sonny Gray, 3.9. He led the team in F4.
Yeah, good pick.
Second pick, Mason Wynn, 3.5, led position players. Ivan Herrera, 2.5. He put up 0.9 F4 in this last quarter.
And he had 8 home runs in September or something like that?
Yeah.
8 or 9?
So he ends up like second, I think, on the team and maybe third in F4 on the as a position player, despite missing a lot of the season and mostly DHing, which is pretty incredible. Michael McGreevy ended at 0.9. That's exactly where he was last quarter. So he kind of had a middling second, last month and a half of the season, but ends as, I think, an established member of the rotation going into next year. And then Quinn Matthews and Tink Hence did not pitch. So you did 6. My final result was 10.8.
Damn.
I have the two top. Win and Gray win it alone.
Yeah.
So
I'm looking at the leaderboard right now, and the fact that Lars Nootbaar and Nolan Arenado subtracted from the first quarter of this game. Nolan Arenado had 1.4 WAR. Lars Nootbaar had 1.1 WAR, and the fact that they ended at 0.9 and 0.8. I mean, that is.
Yeah.
You're talking about Nolan Gorman and Jordan Walker being the biggest disappointments of this season. Maybe that's the biggest disappointment. Those are 2 guys that are supposed to be, solid, at least league average players.
Yeah.
Not even getting half of that.
I think it's more like it depends on what you're looking for as far as what was more disappointing. That right there, Arenado and Nootbaar being bad essentially is like the thing to point to for why the Cardinals did not make the playoffs this year. If either of them put up or both of them put up their averages or what we believe Nootbaar could do on a full season, the Cardinals are probably in the playoffs instead of the Reds, right? Maybe we're probably not still super happy about them as a team, but like they've swapped with the Reds in the playoffs. I would guess. Now Gorman and Walker was like supposed to be that's the future of the team, like this is we're establishing the new floor. So that's more disappointing that they were bad from like a long-term view, but for 2025 alone, Arenado and Nootbaar being bad is a root cause in of the team being mid this year.
If it's just I just need to say it one more time to just say it out loud, but if Lars Nootbaar and Nolan Arenado were injured after the first month and a half of the season, the Cardinals likely would have been in a better spot.
Yeah. Rough.
They were just not here.
Yeah. It's rough.
Shocking.
Yep. Well, congrats me. We'll do this again next year. Always a fun
congrats
one.
you, but I'm just more bummed about the state of the Cardinals.
I know. That's the sad part about this thing.
But I'll get you next year.
Yeah. Yeah. And with that, we're going to wrap up this episode. Thank you, everybody, again, for listening, for being here. Check out the Patreon at patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds and talkingaboutbirds.com for all of your other links and everything. We'll be back next week, as always. And until next week, go
Padres.
Padres, yeah.
Padres beat those Cubbies.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.